course, the conditions are ideal right now for steeplechasing.
Yeah, Dwight, that means that's some high-quality running. They either all left it on the track on Wednesday, or they're primed and ready to run another PB today to get the victory.
On your marks.
12 athletes, 7.5 laps, 28 barriers, 7 water jumps. They'll pass the water jump on the first go-round.
And
we'll see what kind of a pace they'll be setting here pretty quickly.
Well, and this is what many of the coaches that Dan and I were able to talk to before the meet, this is what they expected. Duncan Hamilton is a guy who likes to go from the gun. They expected him to be the front runner and take it out aggressively. So you're likely going to see a solid pack behind him settling in. You mentioned also that standard that so many guys were under in terms of beating their career bests, among them Duncan Hamilton, who won his qualifying heat running 8:23.13. In talking with a few of the coaches, they said it's going to take sub 8:20 to win this championship. That would be below the World Championships, World Qualifying standard that so many of them could be seeking in terms of having the opportunity to potentially represent at the World Championships later this summer here in Eugene at Hayward Field.
That standard is 8:22, so we'll keep an eye on that. And certainly Duncan Hamilton right now is pushing the pace. So that'll be helpful for anybody who is looking for that World Championship standard. And they'll come to the water jump for the first time.
Ed Trippus, the Princeton senior, he was an Olympian last year representing his home country of Australia. And in order to make the Olympic team, it took the very last qualifying opportunity that he had. June 29th, which was the final day of Olympic qualification, he needed that 8:22 mark to earn a spot on the Australian Olympic team. He said it was all or nothing. So he went in, crushed that required time, 8:19.60, a huge PR for him. The very last opportunity that he had showed up. So he is a guy who just gets out and puts himself in fantastic racing scenarios. Very gutsy runner.
And then following that qualification, he literally lived out of a backpack for the rest of the summer leading into those Tokyo games. And the Princeton coach said it was absolutely amazing. He showed up, all he had was a backpack. They sent him to Europe, all he had was a backpack. When his shoes got old, he bought new ones. And he just lived life like a hermit, but he ended up in Tokyo at those Olympic Games.
Well, he's achieved the ultimate. He's an Olympian. He got a chance to run in an Olympic race. They're right now an 8:25 pace, so just shy of that World Championship qualifying standard.
They were anticipating the pace would be about 66 seconds, and interestingly for Ed Trippus, when he made his Olympic debut as an athlete, it wasn't the first time he attended the Olympic Games. He actually went as a spectator at the Sydney Games as a 2-year-old along with his parents to watch the marathon. So grew up in that area, seeing obviously all of the fanfare that there is surrounding track and field, and has been part of what set his passion for the sport.
So it's Duncan Hamilton who continues to lead over Ed Trippus. Ahmed Jaziri is back in about 6th place at this point. And Hamilton appearing to be very comfortable pushing the pace here. The 12 runners nicely spread out, plenty of room to run and navigate the barriers.
You know, Dwight, you mentioned earlier that almost every single competitor coming into this final had to run a personal best to get into the final. So let's talk to the people a little bit about the race strategy when they're coming into this final and there's 5 guys at the front that are all within 3 seconds of each other. What do you think they should be doing to separate themselves? Because we've got guys in this race like Duncan Hamilton, who ran a PR by 2 seconds. Kenneth Brooks from BYU had nearly a 7-second PB. Parker Stokes from Georgetown had nearly a 6-second PB. And Estanis Ruiz from Loyola Marymount had a 7-second personal best. So what do you do, Laura, when you're in this race and you know so many guys are primed to run fast? How do you attack this tactically?
Well, you mentioned Kenneth Brooks. I'm glad you pointed him out, because after that personal best that he had just 2 days ago, he said that whether you run a personal best, whether you run it fast, whatever it is, the steeple hurts. It tires you out no matter what. So whatever you have to do to put yourself in that fantastic situation from a tactical perspective is what it's going to take. If you know you're going to endure the pain, why not get it over as quickly as possible if you can, so that you're up there in the hunt, and especially in this type of scenario where you have guys who can pull you along. You're not out there having to do it all yourself, so you're able to maintain contact, and that was the strategy of a number of these guys. You see the two athletes from Minnesota. You also see Kenneth Rooks of BYU and Ahmed Jaziri of Eastern Kentucky. They're positioning themselves fantastic right now, not having to do a ton of extra work. Jaziri looks very comfortable, and in terms of representing the Eastern Kentucky program, it's the 7th time in the last 8 years that EKU has sent an athlete to the NCAA steeplechase final in this event. So EKU has that strong tradition of NCAA men's steeplers.
I will tell you, I'm liking how Ryan Smeaton looks. He was hanging back in about 5th or 6th place, keeping his powder dry, sort of a la Henry Marsh. Henry said, I don't want to go into oxygen debt the first mile of the steeple. Then I feel like I'm in a good position to start making my move and pushing up to the front and then taking over when I feel it's the right time to do so. Smeaton right there in the orange of Oklahoma State. Trippus is just now passing him again, but he just looks very confident. He looks very determined, and I think that he's really kept himself in a good position.
And he's battle-tested, Dwight. He was the runner-up in this event last year. He clocked 8:22.22 in the prelims at the Olympic trials on this very track. He ended up finishing 10th in the final here at Hayward Field.
Coming up with 2 laps remaining, and it's been all Duncan Hamilton of Montana State so far. The junior from Bozeman has pushed the pace now to about 8:21 pace, so under the World Championship qualifying standard, but now he has company in Ahmed Jaziri, who has now moved up from mid-pack to now 2nd place, along with BYU's Kenneth Rooks now in 3rd.
And keep your eyes on Kenneth Rooks, because his coach Ed Eyestone said earlier today they are really excited about his chances. He came in 4 weeks ago, ran 8:31, a huge PR, then had an injury in practice, lost 9 days of training, had his first running workout just days before the regional, and says there might be a little bit of a silver lining to it because his legs are pretty fresh, because he was forced to take a little bit of time away. And after that qualifying heat, in which he ran the PR that we've referenced so many times, looks like getting into a little traffic there, fending off Alex Baston. Knew it was going to go out fast. He was aware of the pace and where it was, but then made sure he just got himself in position and maintained contact. That's what he's going to have to do at this point.
All right, we're coming up to the bell, and not a lot has changed, certainly not up in front, with Duncan Hamilton continuing to lead, but it takes a lot of energy to do that. No one to draft off of. You're pushing the air aside with your own body, and I think that Ahmed Jaziri has made his move at the right time, and he's in a great position to start his sprint whenever he feels that he needs to. Now for Georgetown, Parker Stokes is up there in 3rd place. Trippus is now trying to get back in it. Baston and Smeaton are trying to also reconnect with the front.
Parker Stokes almost looks like the strongest of them all, but Jaziri has fantastic closing speed.
That look on Parker Stokes' face is the look of all of us watching right now. We know how much this race hurts.
That's a great water jump for Duncan Hamilton, but Jaziri just not dropping Jaziri, even though Jaziri looks like he's laboring. Here it comes. Parker Stokes trying to go wide. They all make the last barrier, and there's Jaziri's speed. Look at the turnover for the Eastern Kentucky junior from Tunisia. He is going to win the NCAA title. Parker Stokes, I think, outleans Duncan Hamilton for 2nd. Hamilton is no worse than 3rd, and he did all the work, almost led it wire to wire.
And what do you know, guys? There for Ahmed Jaziri. He runs a personal best. It took a personal best to win it. What a beautiful way to come out and kick right off of that last steeple jump to catch his guy, the competition off guard and come away with the championship.
And Robert, that improves Jaziri from the number 5 all-time Tunisian to the number 4 all-time Tunisian in this event, thanks to that incredible finishing kick. Great, gained that momentum out of the water jump, which is really hard to do, to compose yourself and project yourself out of the water jump. You can see how aware he was, taking that quick glance over his right hand shoulder, because it looked like that Stokes was charging. But Jaziri, look at this strength and also the awareness to drift out into lane too. He was going to force everyone to run the extra distance around him.
Well, look at everybody's faces. Everybody is grimacing. They were all grimacing in the last 200 meters, but it was Jaziri who hit his dominant leg over that last barrier. He was able to get back into running position. You could see how out of shape Duncan Hamilton was coming off that last barrier, and that is the key. Being able to make that adjustment going into that barrier, hurdle with your strong leg, be able to come off there and run to the finish line. And Jaziri didn't look like he had any issues from a balance standpoint and comes away with the victory. And as soon as they rounded that last water jump, I was thinking, look at these times. They are going to be absolutely incredible.
Well, obviously, huge personal best for many. Jaziri wins it. Duncan Hamilton just thousandths of a second ahead of Parker Stokes in second. Ryan Smeaton ends up fourth. The champion is downstairs with John.
Thank you, Dwight. First, let's go with 8:18. Did you think that's how fast I was going to have to run today to win the national title?
Yes, to be honest, I knew that the race will be fast, so I prepared for that. I prepared to move to the front the last 600, and as you've seen, that's what I did today. I have been waiting for this moment for a while, and today, when my dreams came true, nothing could be much better than today. NCAA champion, all-time standard. That's what I know, what I want.
Very good. Congratulations. Dwight, 10th a year ago, dropped the zero. He's first this time.